Welcome back, everyone, to Jake Writes a Book. My name is Jake, and I am trying to write a book. Today I want to talk about something very specific. Specifically, how I got my own poetry published, and how you can get your poetry published in 5 easy steps. Before we begin today, though, I want to address what's been going on in the comments section. Multiple requests have been made for me to do an episode without my shirt on, but still wearing a jacket. After consulting with Sam, John Green, Markiplier, my mom, and my own conscience, I have decided to give in to these demands. Once we hit 100 subscribers, or I don't know, once this video gets 1,000 views or 1,000 dislikes, sure. If any of those things happen, I will give in to this strange request. This is your channel as much as it is mine, after all. Despite this strange ultimatum, I want you to know that we are above these petty demands and rumors. We're here to write a book, so let's write a book. Like I said before, my name is Jake, and I'm a published author and a poet, and I swear that's not a lie, and you can tell it's not a lie because we are specifically making this video to address that claim. So enough about you guys and your writing, let's talk about me. Yeah, me. Let's talk about how I got 2 of my own poems published in The Juggler, Indiana's #1 ranked collegiate literary magazine. First Indiana, then the world. Finally, we can talk about my publications instead of my cousin Nick's, or my equally as infuriating competent cousin, Holly. Nick and Holly, if you're watching, please know that this is all in good humor and that I love you both. Psych. F***ing losers. Okay, so Jake, you got your poetry published. I want to get my poetry published too. Thankfully, the best way to get your poetry published can be broken down in 5 simple steps. Step 1, write poetry. I know, duh. But it's actually not duh. It's hard to write consistently, but if you want a chance at getting published, you really should be aiming to write 500 words a day, or at least be working to edit or review, revise, or do research for your work 30 minutes a day. You can't publish the poem if you don't write the poem, so write the poem right now, right after this video is finished. I believe in you. Step 2, write what is inspiring or meaningful to you. Please, for the love of everything that is good and sacred in this world, do not write about depression or mental illness or suicide because you think it's intrinsically deep or trendy. Not only is this sort of writing hackneyed and boring, it's also pretty disrespectful. However, if you are suffering from issues related to any of those things, then by all means, write about it if you are comfortable. Using your voice to describe those feelings and experiences can be very meaningful, not just for you, but for your audience. Bottom line, write honestly. Write what's fun or what's moving to you as a reader and as a writer. This is how you gain an authentic voice. Step 3, find a place to submit your writing or your poetry to. I'm not going to go too in depth with this. There are countless sources on the internet that will help you find out where you should submit your writing to. The important thing to remember is to start small. As much as you think your writing is ready to be submitted to the New Yorker or Times Magazine, it's much better to start smaller here in these beginning stages. For instance, The Juggler, Indiana's #1 ranked collegiate literary magazine, is just a literary magazine that gets published twice a year on my college campus. So I started there. Step 4, submit well ahead of the deadline and never ever pay to submit your poetry. To the first point, the reason why it's advantageous to submit well ahead of the deadline is because a lot of publishers accept on a rolling basis, meaning as the submissions come in, the number of available spots for your work go down. To the second point, any publisher who makes you pay to submit your writing for a publication is what I like to call a con artist. Don't pay for a chance to have your writing published. Educate yourself. Avoid swindlers and scammers. Step 5. Make sure you read up on general formatting tips as well as formatting requirements that are specific to the publisher that you're submitting to. Any publisher or online magazine worth their salt will have an easy-to-find tab explaining their unique formatting requirements for submissions. You have to juggle to even have a chance with the juggler. They're very serious about it. Now it's time for step 6. The bonus step for all my subscribers who donate to my Patreon. Thanks, Grandma. Step 6 is do not be discouraged if your poem doesn't get published. Stephen King, a good friend of mine and a loyal subscriber to this channel, tells us not to get discouraged even in the face of 600 rejections. 600 rejections. 600. I haven't even made a video with that many views. If you want to read my 2 poems, yeah, hard flex, 2 poems in 1 issue. Call me Emily fucking Dickinson. If you want to read the 2 poems I published titled They're Meant to be Feared and A Late Evening Sonnet Betwixt Home and Moon, respectively yours, Chester Pot MC Squared. Sir Jacob. You can find them both and many other wonderful pieces of writing and poetry on the Juggler website. Sam, will you put a link in the description? Oh,
no.
Whatever. Sam, will you put a...
No.
Sam will put a link in the...
No.
Sam will put a link in the description or whatever. Thanks, Sam.
No.
You can also drive out to my school and get yourself a hard copy. Please come and visit. I'm so lonely. And if you're watching this, thanks for writing. Wow, we're on episode 5 of Jake Writes a Book, and it feels like we just started filming yesterday, right, Sam? I know you might be saying, hey, what the heck, Jake? When is all this book writing gonna start? I swear I am writing a book. It's called The Switchers, and yes, we'll be talking more about it soon. But if we have learned nothing else, we have learned the importance of taking things slowly and consistently. To cap us off, as a treat, we'll end today's episode with some ambiance, with some soft music, maybe the sound of waves on the beach, and a flying seagull overhead. And now I will read to you my first ever published poem, They're Meant to be Feared. It's like you can add in all those sound effects and stuff. My professor tells me squirrels are not meant to be feared, but to be loved. But when I enter the forest, I grow weak with apprehension. Don't touch me, squirrel, I say. Don't get too close. The squirrel rubs his paws together. I won't hurt ya, fella. He smiles a honeyed lie. I'm not gonna hurt ya. The squirrel buries his acorn, and I back away, with steps slow and eyes vigilant. 10 years later, I return to the forest, and the acorn is now a tree. The old squirrel greets me, and as he distracts me with casual pleasantries, the tree cracks and falls on top of me. See? I didn't hurt ya, laughs the squirrel. Shut up, I say. Ouch, says the tree. If we can put some snaps in the sand, that'd be great. Wow, you're thinking, that got published. But in many ways, the forest the narrator enters can be thought of as representing the whole of nature. The squirrel, nature's representative, is not the benevolent Lorax we may have expected to encounter. No, in our few lines of poetry, we see nature is scheming, it has a twisted sense of humor, it has no clear moral compass, and it enjoys interacting randomly with the humorous anomaly that is man. It rewards and rejoices in the random and the clever aspects of reality, and it is meant to be feared. Moving on to the second poem, A Late Evening Sonnet Betwixt Home and Moon. I now observe the earth's secret delight, and by my pen relay to you the scene, when summer's day gives birth to summer's night, and darkness covers beauty oft unseen. I hear the willows breathe with heavy sighs, and moonlit creeks hum close with bubbling flow. Cicadas chant their songs to darken skies, while stars and moon in silence softly glow. What happy accident brought me my muse, on this dark night where forced I used my art, to pass the time where others might refuse, but age shall come if fortune does her part. 'Tis fate to thank for these few words in me, locked late outside the house without my key.
Wow, anyone can be a poet these days.
I mentioned the muse, so I must know a thing or two about art. But how true, that it's only when we are forced to appreciate the beauty of the world around us that we actually take a moment to pause and appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and create questionable fan art based on my poems. Keep reading, keep writing, and I'll see you next time. Six hundred rejections. 600 rejections. Stephen King is what I like to call a con artist. with